That's it from me for another week. I'll be back next Friday, 9 p.m, with another LBC Consumer Hour. In the meantime, a quick reminder that the advice offered in this hour is for guidance only. You should always seek your own independent legal opinion. If you haven't done so already, make sure you download Global Player, where you can listen live to LBC, catch up with any shows that you've missed, and listen to a range of podcasts. Coming up at 1 is Clive Ball, but next year on LBC, with his normal, abnormal, brilliant show, he's an LBC legend, one of the best presenters on the radio.
Get on with it.
It's my end of show script writer, Nick Abbott.
Sonny, Rishi Sunak's popularity among the Tory fan club has skyrocketed since he decided to ruin the planet as much as possible of someone of his stature. He is actually in positive territory now and stands at 20 out of 100. It used to be -2 out of 100, so that is something he can celebrate, because now he's slightly more popular than face masks and Morris dancing. In other news, a new, exciting future beckons for the over-50s, delivering pizza to teenagers who don't know how to cook. It's that high-wage, high-skill, post-Brexit future we've heard so much about. Onwards and upwards. All that and more coming up with me, Nick Abbott, after the new news at 10 on LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, a stepfather who killed a 10-month-old baby at his home in Derbyshire has been sentenced. Jacob Crouch had 39 rib fractures when he died in Linton in Derbyshire in 2020. Craig Crouch was convicted of murder, while the infant's mother, Gemma Barton, was found guilty of causing or allowing his death. Detective Inspector Paul Bullock, who led the investigation, says there was a culture of cruelty at the property.
We've dealt with some horrendous cases this year, but this one is right up there purely because of the length of time that this poor child, as I say, almost all of his life would have been in excruciating pain.
Sadiq Khan has told LBC he will continue to listen to Londoners but won't water down an expansion to ULEZ. The ultra-low emission zone is due to apply to everybody brought in at the end of August. The city's mayor has now extended financial support to those who need to scrap older, more polluting vehicles to every Londoner. Parisa Wright lives in Bromley with her 2 children and has told LBC News she agrees that the zone should be expanded.
I think it's very sensible to expand this to everybody who has a polluting vehicle. So there's been, I think on Monday and now today, a lot of change in terms of what is available for people so that my children can be protected and other people don't feel this feeling of sort of inequality and financial hardship quite as much.
Well, the Conservatives' mayoral candidate Susan Hall says she believes the extra support is a waste of taxpayers' money. Russian opposition leader and vocal critic of Vladimir Putin, Alexei Navalny, has been sentenced to a further 19 years in prison. He's already serving a 9-year term for previous charges, which he says are politically motivated. The government's been warned using the private sector to tackle NHS waiting lists is only part of the solution. 8 of the 13 new screening and test centres being set up across England will be operated by private firms. And a hosepipe ban covering much of Kent, Sussex and Surrey has been lifted after a review of supplies. Restrictions were brought in June, with South East Water blaming it on the number of people working from home. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed up 35 points at 75.64. The pound buys $1.27 and €1.15. LBC weather: showers sweeping in from the west tonight, rain heavier in Northern Ireland but drier in northern Scotland, windy in the south and a low of 8 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello. Well, let's get back to it.
It's the fault of the people that are working from home. Or do they mean pooping from home?
Disgusting.
Is that what they mean? Certainly not the fault of the water companies for screwing up the water. Goodness me, no. Why would anybody think that? So now you got your hosepipe ban lifted. There's absolutely nothing in the garden that needs watering, probably for the next 5 years. And it's about to get worse.
Oh, no.
Britons were today warned to brace for Storm Anthony. Antony. That is Anthony, A-N-T-O-N-I. No H and an I on the end, which sounds suspiciously foreign to me. Sounds suspiciously Sopranos, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Storm Anthony will be sweeping into the country tomorrow, bringing 65-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain. Just another beautiful summer's day in broken Britain. And I think we know whose fault that is. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. The storm will have the biggest impact in the southwest of England, Wales and Northern Ireland. The rest of the UK will experience wet and windy weather tomorrow as the gloomy conditions continue, thanks to the jet stream remaining stuck across the British Isles, sending wave after wave of rainy Atlantic weather systems all over us. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Forecasters said gusts of 65 miles an hour were possible. The Met Office warned of injuries and danger to life from what they called flying debris, large waves and beach material being thrown onto seafronts, coastal roads and homes. Beach material. Sand. Very, very dangerous sand. There could be damage to buildings, such as tiles blown from roofs, while those travelling by road, rail, air and ferry services could face disruption and cancellations. You won't notice the difference. The RAC warned that tomorrow could be the worst day on the roads, as in ever. Conditions will be, in their words, atrocious, with a wholly unpleasant mix of wind and rain. And they advised the 4 million drivers set to hit the roads for pleasure trips to speed up and try to undertake on roundabouts, and always have your fog lights on, because that makes you look cool. Of course, if you are in an Audi, you will already be doing this.
Correct.
The forecast resulted in events being cancelled across the country, including but not limited to summer fetes, walking tours, farmers markets, outdoor cinemas. Nothing you'd really go to, so no problem there. But the Met Office also said that power cuts may occur, which will mean no internet or television. So this weekend, at first, wet and windy, and then wet, and then damp.
Oh, fabulous.
Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
No, I don't blame you. OK, the forecast for the rest of August, after which we will no doubt get instant autumn. The last of the warmth will disappear from the air on September the 1st, and those jumpers that you put away for about 2 days will be out again for the next 8 months. OK, from now until the middle of the month. Wet and cool and breezy at the start of this period, with showers and longer spells of rain. Most of the rain in the northwest. Well, I bet it'll be in the northwest. I can check that for you while you wait. One moment, please. Aha! You shouldn't laugh. Well, why should the people in Glasgow have any fun? We're not having any fun down here. It's raining well, actually it's not raining right now, but it will be soon in Glasgow. It will be raining tomorrow, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and what? Not raining on Wednesday or Thursday? Pfft, rubbish. But then normal service is resumed, and it will be raining next Friday in Glasgow, and raining on Saturday, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday the 17th. Raining every day for the rest of your lives. Never mind, eh? So that's the first couple of weeks. Now, the last 2 weeks in this month. Good luck, everybody. Fingers crossed. Beyond the middle of August, more settled spells may develop. Warmer and drier conditions are slightly more likely than what we've had lately, and temperatures look like they'll be just a little above average. Warmer and drier conditions are slightly more likely than what we've had lately, and temperatures look like they will be a little above average. We'll take it. Darryl texts, when I first heard of carbon capture and storage like a naive fool, I assumed that the carbon would be changed from carbon dioxide to a solid form, such as graphite or calcium carbonate. But it turns out that it merely involves pumping the carbon dioxide deep underground and hoping it'll stay there. Basically, it's an industrial-scale version of sweeping the dirt under the carpet. Still, I'm sure that the government knows what they're doing. No, they don't. They even said so.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Is that right? So, carbon capture. It's just a con. It's like putting a bucket of water inside the front door of a house as an excuse for setting it on fire. Ahmed emails, I'm looking for a job that pays a minimum of £80,000 a year. I want to half-heartedly do this job, and now that I have a TV show and my book writing is increasing, I want to spend about 3 years on this and not do anything for the 80k job, but still get paid in full and occasionally claim some expenses. Can you direct me to a profession that would allow me to do this, please? Any thoughts, Bodge? I can barely keep up with the texts, and this show hasn't even started yet. How do these people get my number? Steph texts, it's been raining so much around here that the magpie's drenched feathers look like they've sprouted hair. One bears more of a passing resemblance to Rod Stewart. Come to think of it, when was the last time you saw Rod photographed with a magpie? I blame the deep state replacing all of our ageing rock stars with corvids. What's a corvid? What's a corvid?
Type of bird.
Is it? What type of bird?
Things like ravens and crows.
Oh, those type. Well, we don't like those. But we do like Rod.
Rock and roll!
Stewart, to be specific. You've got to be specific, innit? Clive says Rishi Sunak is like an AI pilot when it comes to the economy. He couldn't give a bleep if it crashed. You can't give me words like that to read. I might accidentally actually read them out on the air, which would be a big mistake. Huge. Rishi Sunak is like an AI pilot when it comes to the economy. He couldn't give a bleep if it crashes. What else can we expect from a man telling the peasants to grin and bear interest rate rises from his holiday in California after burning all that carbon on his flight? What an absolute shower, eh? Mind you, his popularity is up. Now he's decided to do as much as possible to ruin the planet in the short period in which he has the power to do it. Fishy Sunak has seen his popularity rise among Tory members since the Uxbridge and South Ruislip by-election win. By the way, isn't it amusing, if not downright infuriating, that the students were away when that by-election took place? I think that if the students had, at Uxbridge University I'm talking about, if they had actually been there, then the result would probably have been different. If the people who had all expressed positive thoughts about the ULEZ charge had all voted for the Labour Party, then the Labour Party would have won. But, as usual, the left splits the vote between them and the Tory Party steps nimbly over their wrestling form. The Prime Minister, he's the Prime Minister of this country, can you believe that?
No.
The Prime Minister, who is currently on a family holiday in California, taking gurning pictures of him and his family for our delectation. God, if I see another one of those cheesy, grinning family photographs of the Sunaks, I think I'm going to scream. Who's taking those photographs, by the way? Does he take an official photographer on his bloomin' family holidays, or does he just ask some gormless numpty from the crowd? Here, can you take these for us, please? Taking photographs of me gurning with my family is my number one priority.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities.
Yeah, you got that the wrong way around, Fishy. It should be our priorities are the government's priorities. When they tell you who they are, believe them the first time. Anyway, the Prime Miniature, who is currently on a family holiday in California, if you please, has seen his net satisfaction rating among the Conservatives' grassroots return to a positive score after the slump in the previous month, after a slump in the previous month. Does any of this make sense yet?
No.
He's less unpopular than he used to be. I think that's the headline. But of course, that's not the way they're telling it to us. But the truth is, he is slightly less unpopular than he used to be, because the grassroots Tory members really love it when he says something that sticks it to the libs, which is essentially what this is. I mean, that nonsense about opening up new oil and gas wells to maintain our energy security, it's just a bunch of old nonsense that every single Tory minister who goes on a TV or radio show now is going to repeat like they've had it drilled into them. Bunch of nodding dogs. And every single one of them is not telling the truth. Liar! All of them. I mean, what's extraordinary is they'll go on a TV panel, they say, oh, well, of course we must open 100 oil and gas wells because the energy security of this country is our number one priority. And then they'll get told to their face that this isn't true because, A, it'll take 18 to 20 years to come online, so it's not going to help us out anytime soon. When it does start to come online, that will be past the point at which we aren't using gas and oil, if at all, in anything close to the kind of amounts that we're using at the moment. And second, the North Sea oil and gas doesn't come here. It's not being drilled by us. We're not Norway. Norwegians are smart. We, stupid. We gave it all away. It's international corporations which are run by China and Norway and America and so on. They will take that hot, delicious gas and oil out of beneath the sea, and they'll sell it on the open market, where we'll have to pay the going rate. It's not coming to us. Explain people to ministers. And the ministers, I don't know, it's like they're made out of plastic or cardboard or something. There's absolutely nothing going on inside at all. All of this information just bounces off them, does not compute. I'm going to repeat the lines that I learnt by rote before I came on this show. It's infuriating. They tell a lie, they're told to their face that they are lying, and then they retell the lie in response. What have we done to deserve this? It must have been absolutely awful, and the terrible thing is, I can't remember it. I mean, the thing that you and I, have done to deserve this must have been so stratospherically bad that we should at least have enjoyed it while it was happening, but I can't remember what it was. I must have taken the blue pill instead of the red one. I'm going to take them both next time and have a purple time.
Groovy.
Who's with me? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hot H-O-T-A-I-R.
So I'm going to finish this thought about Fishy Sunak. In the latest Conservative Home survey of Tory members, you know, those crashing bellicose gasbags who prop up the bar at the golf club, no offence, Fishy Sunak scored a net satisfaction rating of 20, up from minus 2.7 in the last survey. I mean, that's it. His popularity rating out of 100 is 20. But, you know, up from minus 2.7. So at this rate, he will be reaching the perfect 100 score around the time the sun explodes in the sky, taking all of us and his new swimming pool extension with it. This was after the Tories held on to the Uxbridge and South Ruislip seat, which we're being told over and over again, and we seem to have accepted it as truth, that it was largely due to a local backlash against Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan's expansion of the ULEZ zone. Rather missing the point that, in fact, the ULEZ charge was initiated under Mr. Blobby. Yeah. Wait a minute. And insisted upon by Tory Transport Secretary at the time, Grant Shapps, or whatever he's calling himself this week. But since the by-election win on the 20th of July, Mr. Fishy has made efforts to signal a change in the government's approach to green policies, for the sake of us poor dopes who pay taxes.
The little people.
Not leprechauns. Yeah, it's for us that he's doing it. It's for our benefit, not his close personal friends in the energy industry, you understand. Goodness me, no. Why would anybody think that? And he's announced a boost to oil and gas drilling in the North Sea because apparently he is still angry at nature for making him as furry as a teddy bear and twice as small. Mr. Fishy has pledged to scrutinise green policies.
Oh, no.
Love that word. He should set up a net zero scrutiny group. Oh, no, that's right. Some Tories and their opaquely funded think tanks have already done that. Ask them where they get their funding from. Go on, I double dare you. If you want to wallow in an echoing silence, that's exactly what you should do. It'll be relaxing. The PM has also ordered a review of low-traffic neighbourhoods, because of course he has. as part of an effort to show car drivers he is on their side, or, in reality, on the side of the companies who make cars go, not on the side of actual people. But, you know, it's working for him. A 20% approval rating from his own party's fans, and that's what they're calling success over at Tory head office these days. Immigration, in case you were wondering, as you asked, Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick is second last in the cabinet rankings as the Home Office struggles to get control of Channel migrant crossings. Yeah, because that's their number one priority.
The country's priority is to stop the boats. And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly focusing on stopping the boats.
Yeah, from your holiday in California. Yeah, relentless. Night and day you're working on holiday in California. What an absolute shower. So Robert Jenrick is second last with a score of minus 17.5. This is the Tories' own fans. Practically nobody at all gets above 50%. And in case you're wondering about who that is, it's James Cleverly. Oh, no, he isn't. Excuse me. And Kemi Badenoff. Oh, Struth. Really? And Ben Wallace. That's the very same Ben Wallace. He's the most popular among them. Presumably because we are in a proxy war with Russia right now, and everybody looks to their defence leader. The nearest they've got to Churchill, and he's it. But he's shortly going to delight us no more. Bye-bye. So where does that leave him? And the absolute flat-out worst, the one that they hate the most, and I would have to concur in at least part way with them on this one, Therese Coffin. They hate her. Environment Secretary Therese Coffin. I'd say a future career delivering warm food to people who can't cook is your future, Therese Coffin. We're going to need a bigger bike. 0345 6060 973. Let's have our traditional start to the programme with Mike in East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. How are you tonight?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. Back to Sunak, I'm afraid. I managed to tolerate listening to him through Ferrari interview on Monday.
Oh, yes.
Because he's one of the most annoying voices on the planet. He's one step above Van Widdicombe.
He has an annoying voice, an annoying face. I hate his little suits and his pointy shoes and his greasy... I particularly hate his greasy hair. There's an expert on hair who has a word to say about that.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't.
No, I agree. But going back to the Ferrari interview, overall, he was really annoying because he talked over Ferrari for nearly 30 minutes. Now, that takes some doing. There's a skill to talking over Ferrari, but it's rude and ignorant. And it avoids answering the question that is being asked of you. But what really got me, and no one's picked up on this, was a constituent of his said 4 businesses in his constituency had gone bust.
Yeah.
And he uffled and buffled and went round the houses with it a bit. And then he said, well, I'm going to reform... Well, one of the complaints was they couldn't get staff. And he said, I'm going to reform welfare. And that will get more people back to work. Now, that is quite worrying, Nick.
Yes, it is.
Because if you reform welfare up, that's not going to get them back to work. So reforming welfare to get people back to work, to stop businesses going bust in his constituency.
And it rather overlooks the point that I think it's about 50% of those on universal credit are actually in work, but it's not the kind of work that pays enough to actually pay the bills.
No. And I mean, okay, I'm 68, but if he thinks he's getting me on a bike delivering takeaways, what do we need? What's the problem with the country? We haven't got enough wrinkles on bikes delivering takeaways.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
this is delusional. I mean,
Mike, you need to skill up for your high-wage, high-skill future. You need to first of all get yourself a moped license. Can you do that for me straight away?
I can do that. But one other thing, you know, his popularity's risen a bit. And I think one of the factors of that is that he's suddenly palled up to Farage. And he said, I'm supporting you in this bank thing. And Farage is anti-net zero. So he's taking Nigel's policies. And I think that there's some of those 22% that have moved back towards him is because of he's cuddling up to Farage.
Yeah. These are the people that that chose our last Prime Minister, and that went really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
You sound very angry, Mike, but not angry enough. And by the way, if that pizza isn't over at my place within 30 minutes, it's free. You understand that, don't you?
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Ian says previous Prime Ministers have holidayed in the UK to show support for the UK economy. Yes, that's right. I mean, they pretended. They didn't want to spend a holiday in the UK. They're millionaires. They could have gone anywhere. But at least Dave actually made an effort to spend a blustery weekend in Cornwall or wherever it was. And Bodger pretended to camp for a while.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Which was just a photo opportunity. Whenever a PM takes a holiday in this country, it's just a photo opportunity to make it appear as though they actually care about this country. That they're concerned for the little people, not leprechauns. But it's a precursor to their actual holiday, which will be on some oligarch's yacht somewhere. But, you know, at least they made an effort. Fishy didn't make the slightest effort, couldn't care less, couldn't wait to get out of this country. He's opted to spend his money in the USA. That's right. Ian says maybe the British weather put him off, or the thought of the boats landing on the beach during his holiday. Why didn't he have a staycation? What are his priorities? Good point, Ian. He went to Disneyland. I mean, and like I said before, if I see one more picture of him and his gurning family, cheese grinning at whoever is taking that photograph, I want to know who's taking those photographs. I want to see the photograph before and after the photograph that actually we saw. I want to see them, you know, winding themselves up to grin for the camera. And I would like to see exactly how their faces look 2 seconds after that shutter is pushed. Does anybody push shutters anymore? Not really. You just stab at your phone screen. Paul says, my mortgage payment is going to double next month thanks to the interest rate rise, but I'm holding my nerve as Rishi told me that everything will be okay. Well, it'll be okay for him, if that's any help. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30, the news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in the West Midlands. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick.
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
Good. I've been thinking about you all week. I couldn't wait till today. Honestly, there's so much material today.
I know.
You know what? Okay.
Where do we even begin? Let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Do you remember a few years ago when they had that Ali G and all the kids started speaking like Ali G?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, any or whatever, right? And when you listen to all these conservative politicians, right, they say it's our priority to grow the economy and the same old rubbish. They all are now clones of Rishi Sunak, the way they speak.
It's as though they've all had their brains removed as a precondition for accepting the job.
Yeah, and I just, you know, when you think, who's told you to say this? We know. That's transparent now, 100%, right? I listened to the interview with Nick Ferrari, you know, like Mike just said, right? Mm-hmm. And you know what? Rishi Sunak has got about 20 Duracell batteries stuck somewhere, right, where he doesn't stop at all. He seems to have an answer for everything, right? But the thing is, he's so far out of touch, yeah? He started off by saying, oh, well, you know, I lived in a working household, you know, I had to sweep the shop, yeah? You know what? Give me a rest, boy. Give me a rest, boy, because he's humble beginnings, okay? And fair play, his mum studied and become a pharmacist. She had her own pharmacy. When you're a pharmacist, you're employed by the National Health Service. You get paid and you also do your own business in the shop. His dad was a GP, yeah? So hardly humble beginnings.
Exactly.
Right? So you...
Comfortable, upper middle class.
Yes. So that just... You know, he said, oh, I know working people. I see him on the other side of the fence, right? Or stuff like that, right? So
some of my people talk to working people, yeah.
Yeah. So all of our children, they have to do chores around the house, you know, do the washing, do this, do the hoovering.
Count the money,
that kind of thing. Count the money, right? So that was just a fallacy. And I thought to myself...
Who's he kidding? I mean, honestly, which person does he think he is kidding with that?
Well, then you got Oliver, what's his name, Dowling or Oliver, you know, him, right? Now, he's going to sell, right, a 30p meal, cycle, delivery, and make a profit. Yeah, if you're over 50, that's what he's trying to say to us. You know what? Delivery driver, who are you going to deliver to? No one's got any money. They haven't got money to buy a bag of chips these days, right? Let alone have them delivered. Okay.
I honestly couldn't believe it when they came out with that. Your new bright future for the over 50s is sitting on a moped on a 0 hours contract, delivering warm food to others with on minimum wage. I actually couldn't believe it when they said that.
Yeah, but you can make a living. You can pay your mortgage. You can do this. That's what he's trying to say to you, right? Okay, and that's your secondary job, maybe your third job.
It is, by the way, not the first time that a Tory minister has told people to get on their bikes.
Yeah, it was, what's his name, Norman Tebbit or someone like that before, right? And then Norman Tebbit at that time, he said, well, do you really support England when you live in England or whatever, right? And, you know, I wanted to ask him a question. Where do the most of the Man United fans live outside of Manchester?
China.
China, yeah, right? The thing is, and then, you know, this guy in Gwent, yeah, is posting leaflets against the travellers, right?
Yes.
Now,
you are all over the shop there, Ranjit.
I've been listening to how much rubbish. I nearly used a CR word then, right? That's been gone on this week. Because, you know, like when, it's close season for the politics, right? They're all on their holidays, the country's running smoothly.
Yeah, exactly. They've decided that nothing could possibly be any better with the country, so they've down tools and gone on holiday for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and the ones still are here trying to make a name for themselves and talking about if you want a traveller person as your neighbour. Well, Malcolm X came to Smethwick in the 60s, right? And the Conservatives were distributing leaflets, right, using the N-word. You say, if you want the N-word as a neighbour, vote Labour. What's the difference in this guy's doing these leaflets? Now, Rishi Sunak turned around, he says he's going to win that next general election by hook or crook, even if it means dividing people. Well, you know the dinglings of this country now, right? Some of them are worse than the ones you see in America, right? I've been watching, I've been...
Yes, the difference... just to calm you down just a little bit, because I fear that you're going to have a heart attack, but the difference between this country and America is not much, because we have had just as bad a leader...
Yeah. Wait.
...as they have.
A president! Can you believe it?
The difference is that in America, they get investigated for their crimes and potentially go to jail. In this country, they do not get investigated for their crimes and they potentially go to the House of Lords. That's the difference between here and America.
Yeah, and then you still got that Nadine Dorries thing, and she or isn't she, you know what I mean? So what's all that about?
She's redefined the word immediately.
Yeah, we now, right, are absolute a laughing stock. Yeah.
Well, at least we've got that.
World.
At least we're funny.
If you carry on laughing, you know what's going to happen. What's happened to Russia? The opposition leader's got an extra 19 years. So if you criticise any of these leaders, Nick, you'll have to send me a visiting order.
Okay, I'll make my first phone call to you. All right. Thanks a lot, Ray.
Okay, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Rancid. 0345 6060 973. He's very, very angry. Tom says Rishi claims to care about the environment. Does he? And yet the man takes helicopters and planes everywhere while us plebs either walk or drive small cars. Is he winding us up? Yes. Yes, Tom. That is exactly what he is doing. Everything that this government does from now on can be seen through the prism of what would Donald Trump do, and how can we please our fans by sticking it to the libs? And it doesn't really matter what is at stake, what the consequence is. If it pleases the people who go around fretting about woke issues, who think that the most important issue the country is facing at the moment is gender-neutral toilets, those people. Then if it upsets those people, then the government's going to go with it, regardless of what the consequences are to the entire country. They don't care. Ollie says, people like you... Oh, God, here we go. People like you and the left wing are ruining this country. Yeah, that's right, because the left wing have been running this country for the past 13 years. He says, you claim to hate the Tories and MOG, yet you can't say one thing that they've done wrong. Are you sure you're not secretly a Tory yourself? Wait, back up. What? People like you and the left wing are ruining this country? Well, that is indisputable. Blooming Jeremy Corbyn, Prime Minister, the worst Prime Minister we've ever had. No! He said, you claim to hate the Tories and MOG, yet you can't say one thing that they've done wrong. Ollie, I spend 3 hours a day, 3 days a week, listing the things that they've done wrong. Are you sure you're not a secret Tory, secretly a Tory yourself? Well, I'll have to examine myself with both hands and see whether I am or not. I'll have a full report with pictures on your desk first thing in the morning.
Disgusting.
0345 6060 973. Let's have Woolwich. Richard.
Oh, hi, Nick. Nice to speak to you. Can you put those pictures on Twitter?
I'll put them on Instagram.
Yes. Nick, I had a quick reflection. I think we need a Henry Ford of our age, don't we? Someone who will produce these really good quality, mass-produced electric vehicles.
Don't we have BMW and Volkswagen and Tesla and those funny cars that come from I've got no idea where?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously in Ford, we had all of those kind of cars coming through, but that was the one person who had the idea and vision to kind of mass produce them cheaply for the masses.
Well, he had a production line. He invented the production line. But,
exactly.
But we have that, don't we? You're going to reinvent the production line.
Well, what I want to do is for electric cars, because I just think that I still think they're really expensive.
Yeah.
And I think if we can have that kind of shift in thinking. But you're right. It's actually you're quite right. It's a good challenge. It's just a production line for electric cars. So
well,
maybe it's not an original thought at all.
No, I don't think so. It's weird that you would have spent so long on the hold and not thought of that. But I think the problem with electric cars is the batteries. We just have not had a revolution in battery technology. I mean, if we could just get that. I mean, for crying out loud, this phone that I am holding in my hand needs charging pretty much every day. It doesn't really do anything. So how come we can't get a phone that requires one charge for, like, say, a week or a month? Why not? So when we do that, then other things will, then, benefits will follow.
No, you're right. That's the really interesting thing. So that the Tories have gone over to talking, basically going back to making demonising cars and trying to get people back on their side with that whole car thing. But there's a bigger picture here.
Did you
And
say
you're
the
right.
Tories are demonising cars? They're not. It's the opposite of that.
It's the opposite. No, I don't know. I'm not on form tonight, am I?
Well, I don't know what you on form sounds like, Richard. You could be knocking it out the park. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think you're going to the news, so I'll
Yeah,
let you go, Nick.
you're 15 minutes out, but, close enough for jazz. Thanks a lot, Richard. I think Richard is underperforming. I've got no idea why. Booze. Maybe. Doug says Disneyland has a height restriction for its rides. Pretty sure it will be a short visit for the Sunak party. Yeah, there'll be much disappointment when they get to the head of those queues. Fred says, can you stop saying Sunak is holidaying in California like he's some sort of James Bond figure? He's gone there to see the new Star Wars in Disneyland. His words, not mine. Why is holidaying in California like a James Bond figure? Can you stop saying Sunak is holidaying in California like he is some sort of James Bond figure? Was I? How would that sound? I have no idea what you're talking about, Brett. He has gone to see the new Star Wars in Disneyland. His words, not mine. The new Star Wars... You mean, is he gone to see the new Star Wars film in Disneyland, or there's a Star Wars attraction in Disneyland? Either way, is it any kind of thing for a grown-up to be seen to be doing? Somebody who is supposed to be leading this country, for crying out loud, and he's busy enjoying his freebie, no doubt, in Disneyland watching Star Wars. Good grief. Okay, spoiler alert, it was his father. Oh, now I've ruined it for you. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
Yes, we're all out of laughs. Jack texts, you mentioned the sun exploding in the sky. Is it fair to assume that it might not be raining in Glasgow that week? Oh, it'll be raining. It'll just be the water evaporates before it hits Sucky Hall Street. The stench of urine will remain. Hungerford, hello, Doris.
Hi. Thank God it's Friday. I have been fuming since Monday's interview with Ferrari. Oh, God, that verbal diarrhea.
Isn't he annoying?
He even got the better of Nick Ferrari.
No, I don't think so.
Don't you? Well,
What?
I thought he didn't get a word in edgeways.
Oh, well, that's not getting the better of him. Because
Anyway,
people have, everybody that I've spoken to about it, said that he was just annoying and it was just, deeply infuriating, and he just kept repeating the same thing over and over again. Even when it was explained to him that he was wrong for the following excellent reasons, his response would be to just repeat it. It's the response of all of them. They're all the bloomin' same.
He really thinks we're all bloody stupid.
Yes.
Anyway, my bone of contention this week on the news today about the diagnostic centres being run by private companies.
Yes.
Weeks ago, Sisi announced money to buy the new equipment for the NHS.
Right.
And we had it in the local news. It was announced that our local news hospital got one of them. Now, so we pay for the equipment, and then a private company charges the NHS to run them.
Yes, that's about right, yeah.
What the hell is going on?
What the hell is going on is the topic from now until the end of time on this show, Doris.
Yes, and at the same time, he's grinding the nurses and doctors into the dust.
Yes, he might as well be grinding them into hamburger and serving them on a barbecue.
Yes, and there is a total scheme now to destroy the NHS. Yeah. And I still come back to in 2020 when he went to California, and it was sort of priced out of him that he had meetings with private health insurance companies.
Yes, the only people that get to see the Prime Minister more than private health companies are private oil companies.
Yeah, every time he opens his mouth and announces something, you can see the pressure behind him from these lobbyists.
Yeah, well, I can see the string that
Yes,
dances
I'm
him
fuming,
around.
But I do look forward to your weekend.
Well, I appreciate it, Doris.
At least, Nick, at least you have some sense of humour with it,
Right.
however grim the
I know.
situation
Yeah.
is.
Well, you got to laugh, ain't ya?
Thank you very much.
All
Thank
right,
you.
keep fuming, Doris. It'll keep you.
I will.
It'll keep you young and vital. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, can you believe that? They're calling this a great win. The government is turning to private healthcare firms in a bid to cut NHS waiting lists. Yeah, as though the government has nothing to do with NHS waiting lists, which, let's remind ourselves, were at an all-time low when the Tory party took over 13 years ago. The satisfaction in the NHS was at an all-time high when the Tory party took over 13 years ago. Have they done so far?
Fabulous.
Yeah, abysmally badly. Waiting lists for routine checkups are now 7.47 million. The waiting list is if you join the back of the queue for a routine checkup, there's 7.47 million people ahead of you. Please sit on one of these excruciatingly uncomfortable blue plastic seats while you wait. Waiting list for routine checkups, 7.47 million. Ministers now plan to open 13 community diagnostic centres across England to carry out an additional 742,000 scans, checks and tests a year. 8 of the new facilities will be operated by the private sector, although services will be free to patients. No, they won't. You will have paid for them free. We've all paid for them. I'd like to know where the money's gone. Vast amounts seem to have disappeared. Health Secretary Steve Barclay said, "We must use every available resource to deliver life-saving checks to ease pressure on the NHS. Yet that is every available source up to, but not including, giving the money that we're spending on private healthcare to the NHS." See, this is another one of their cute little tricks. They will give vast amounts of your money to private healthcare firms in a bid to supposedly cut NHS waiting lists, and the money they give to the healthcare firms will be chalked up as an increase in the amount that they're giving the NHS. It's called creative accountancy or lying. You know, the reason why there is a 7.4 million waiting list to get routine checkups and so on is because compared to other better-run countries, in Europe, for instance, we don't have all of those machines. You know, the machines that go bing! And the ones that are my favourite, it's like a tube that you go into and it goes wah, 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 wah. You know, those ones. We ain't got none of them. Not to speak of. Not as much as they do in, Germany and France and Spain and Italy and other countries are available, but not to us. Because we made that decision, a little while ago. And the papers are so full of these people that voted Brexit and are now complaining that we got Brexit. Oh, I was going to, spend the rest of my retirement in Italy and Spain. And after I voted Brexit, now that has become impossible. Who knew? If only somebody had told me, they say. Hello? Is this thing on? So that's their latest little scheme. They're saying that they're going to, pump an enormous amount of money, record amounts of money into the NHS, but it just goes straight through the NHS, like a prune tincture, and comes out the other side and is splattered all over private health. And they make out like they're giving more money to the NHS, but they're not. They're giving money to private healthcare, which we're then filling in the gaps in the NHS because we've got fewer beds. And we've got all of these machines that other countries have in abundance. We have not at all. So if you want to get an MRI check, then, or if you need to get one, more accurately, then you're at the back of a 7.47 million long queue. But not in other countries, of course, because they actually invested in their health service, and they didn't just sort of disappear the money on PPE equipment that doesn't work or didn't show up or never appeared, or or they spent £1 million a week on storing, and now £10 million to burn. All that stuff, all that goes under NHS spending, believe it or not. And the part that they didn't put in here is where they're going to get the radiographers to look at all of these tests and these scans and pictures and so on to actually tell the consultant what's going on here. Because there seems to be a lack of those as well. So whether you get your MRI checkup, if you actually manage to get to the front of a 7.47 million person queue, then the information still needs an actual real-life human being to untangle it. And I don't believe that we have any of those either. So, no doubt they've thought of all this because they're experts. I mean, it's okay, everybody. We've got Health Secretary Steve Barclay at the helm. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
This is absolute tosh.
Hi, Annie. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. 0345 6060 973. Peter texts, to prevent overpacking holiday clothes, Mr. Sunak's trousers will double up as shorts for a real adult. Well, that's just rude. Chris texts, Rishi is looking forward to seeing the Star Wars exhibition so he can stand next to R2-D2 and look tall. That's rude too. If the Sue says, somewhat alarmingly, if Trump becomes US president in jail, where will the nuclear button go?
I'm president. Can you believe it?
Well, I have a suggestion or two. Well, just the one, actually. Greg says, saw a good climate documentary this week, Living in the Future's Past, narrated by Jeff Bridges. Oh, the dude.
Groovy.
He says, I heard a great quote regarding climate change denial. If your child was in hospital about to die and the doctor comes to you and says we can save him with an operation that 99% of scientists predict that could save his life, and you go with the 1%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, have you you climate deniers, have you seen the news lately? It's becoming increasingly difficult to deny it, isn't it? But they found a way. You know, the dingalings. Those people. Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Nick. Well, you know, I've been listening to the doom and the gloom.
Yeah.
What are we going to do about it? You know, you've got this rottenness, corruption. It's just endemic. It's just, and every time, I mean, I go along with it. I mean, what they do into the NHS. Right. So, I've been thinking, what is the problem with a simple idea? Down here, this neck of the woods in Wales, we got proportional representation. Scotland's got proportional representation. There's your first step.
Yeah, most well-run countries in Europe have proportional representation.
Exactly. So how are you going to get proportional representation? Don't think Starmer, if he gets in, is going to introduce proportional.
Doubtful.
No way. Yes. So what are you going to do? So, I mean, I'm looking at the situation and thinking, look, you got to reset, you got to reboot, switch off, switch on. It's got to be something along the lines of English independence, Welsh independence, and Scottish independence. We then operate as one united movement of trading with each other. It's not going to be like in North Korea or something like that. Yeah. It's going to be a reasonable relationship.
We will be able to cross the border, is that what you're saying?
Well,
without getting shot.
Look, you can.
If I want a nice weekend in Rhyl, will I be able to do it by travelling there during the daylight times, or will I have to run and cover under darkness?
Well, do you want me to organise it for you? I can organise that for you.
Only if it's legal, decent, honest and true, Jeff.
All I can say to you is this, Nick, right? We've got to rethink the whole thing. And then each individual country can try to get back into the European Union.
Right.
And if you reset, now, it wasn't me that came up with this idea. It was none other than Peter Hitchens.
Oh.
Now, he's not on my Christmas card list.
No.
He writes for the Daily Mail.
I know he does. Same blooming column every week. Drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Over and over and over again.
As he's looking down his nose at you. But this is the point. You got to reset. You got to try something very, very drastic. You've got to get rid of first past the post, or you're never going to get anywhere.
Yes, I completely agree. The only way I can see it happening is, I mean, the Labour Party seems to be as enamoured of the idea of 100% of the power as the Tories are. It's just that the Labour Party will only enjoy that for one, maybe two go-arounds at most, and then it will be back to the Tories for the following 10, 20 years, whatever, or forever if they decide to ban elections for our safety.
Yeah.
The only way I can see it happening is if the Labour Party don't get nearly as many votes as they're expecting to get, and they need to get propped up by the Lib Dems, and the Lib Dems do it on the precondition that proportional representation will come in.
Yeah, I wait every time in your programme for Malcolm to come on so I can go to sleep. It's.
I have no idea who Malcolm. Who's Malcolm? No, who's that? I never listen to this show, Jeff. No one should listen to this show. Malcolm in Bodmin, right. Well, I tell you what, Jeff, I'm going to book you, I'll book it right now. Can I have a weekend's stay in a static in Rhyl with a sea view? How much is that going to put me back? All right, thanks, mate. 0345 6060 973. Roger texts, either the government doesn't believe climate change is real, or else they believe that their wealth will protect them from its effects. Which do you think it is? Well, it's definitely the latter. They're professing to believe that it is not a thing, but they're I don't know which is worse actually. Either that they're ignorant, or that they're lying. What's a polite way of saying lying? They're giving us misinformation. Exactly. But yes, they believe that their wealth will protect them, which it will to a certain extent, depending on how bad it gets. If if Africa dries up, or if where the world makes its food, if it gets too much or too little rain, then millions, hundreds of millions of people will be on the move, and there ain't no amount of money that's going to be protecting you from that. Dino text, why is Fishy Sunak going on holiday when the Tories are 22 points behind in the polls? He needs to be here re-strategising with a cashmere hoodie on. Nora says, instead of making more personal cars, why don't we make twice as many electric buses and make all bus travel free or for a nominal charge? £100 for a year-long pass. That would reduce journeys, especially short journeys, and a lot of people would give up their cars. Yes, other better-run countries have done exactly that. It costs virtually nothing at all to travel on Germany's rail system. I think Spain made the public transport adjacent to, if not completely free, which is one of the reasons that the Spanish inflation rate is so very, very low. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what it is, but I'll say 2%. even if that's not true, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. 2%, the interest rate in Spain. Can you believe that?
No.
And one of the reasons is that they have a progressive government that actually cares for their people. The little people, not leprechauns. As opposed to a non-progressive government that cares about the donor class. Which is why we're in such a stink. Westminster, Hassan.
Hi there.
Hello there.
Yeah, I think this announcement about more privatization in the NHS is a terrible idea because they're going to just cherry pick the easiest patients to focus on. They make their money, right?
Correct.
And this idea that the private sector has this huge capacity is also absurd because the private sector is known for efficiency. They're not going to have huge number of doctors waiting around. They'll just poach those doctors from the NHS when they're needed.
Well, the private sector doctors are NHS doctors in the most part.
Exactly. But we always knew that this is what the Tories were up to. I think the sad thing is that West Streeting and others are now going to say, why haven't you done this already? Because actually Starmer and Streeting have also been talking about using this magical capacity in the private sector.
I know, it was so deflating. I heard it on the news at the top of the hour, the Labour's response to this plan by the Tories to funnel more NHS money into private healthcare companies. And the Labour's response was, why didn't you do it sooner?
Absolutely.
I mean, come on.
No, but I think what your previous caller was talking about, I think PR, I think is critical. But we don't have to break up into tiny little countries for that.
No.
I think what we need to do is learn from the master, Nigel Farage, which is, he's like a Pied Piper dragging the Tory party to the right every day. And we need somebody like that on the left, which actually tells Starmer that you're going to lose 20% of your vote that are left-wing people unless you change your play. And if Starmer loses 20% of his vote bank, he will not win the election. He'll be stuck in hung parliament territory, and that is the time when you can get proportional representation out. Otherwise, these Labour Party leaders, the minute they smell power, they completely abandon any concept of PR, which is what the country needs.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, unfortunately, with a minority of the vote, the Tories have, since the Second World War, almost always got 100% of the power. Well, not almost always, but over two-thirds of the time. With less than 50% of the vote, they got 100% of the power. And that is intoxicating for the leader of a political party. Why would Keir Starmer want to, if he wins 100% of the power, even if it is on less than 50% of the vote, why would he want to give over a considerable amount of the power that he has then acquired for himself to, some dope-smoking hippie from the Lib Dem party?
Yowza.
Or worse, the Greenies. The HAPPY-ness people. So he won't want to do that. Unfortunately, the people who get to that position cease to act in the interests of the country, if indeed they ever did such a thing. I think we're forever destined to be run by people who don't run the country for the benefit of the people. They run the country for the benefit of the people that are running the country. Sadly. Thanks, Hassan. 0345 6060 973. Declan says, Richard's belief. Who's Richard? Whoever Richard is, Richard's belief that electric cars are too expensive. A caller I had some while ago. He says his belief that electric cars are too expensive is not strictly true. It's the low-wage economy introduced by the Tories that's the problem. There's something to be said for that. But electric cars are quite pricey. You know, the Teslas are stupidly expensive for something that looks like a cab. They do. Terrible-looking cars. I mean, I've tried to like the look of those cars, but, the technology within them may be terrific. I've got no idea. Although there's some questions about that. There's people who are displeased with the range that they're getting from their Tesla mobile. And I absolutely flat-out hate the new Twitter logo, by the way. Looks a bit Third Reich-y? A little bit. I just don't like it on my computer screen. I don't like it in my tabs, and I certainly don't like that black X of doom that flashes up when you go onto their website. There's nothing nice about it. But that's got nothing to do with his car. Well, I suppose it has something to do with his cars. It's the same bloke. But, yeah, very, very expensive. And the Volkswagens are very expensive, and BMW battery cars are very expensive. And those ones that I don't know where they come from. They don't seem to have a name. They just got this sort of black badge on the front and the back, and you can't really tell where it is, but they look as though they've come from space. They look as though they've come from Space 1999. Remember that? Where there used to be cars that appeared to run around on air, although they did have wheels. You could only just see them under the bodywork. They seem to have come here from the future. Somebody should check into that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
What's he got to be depressed about?
Oh, blimey, where do I even begin? Andy texts, I have the solution to the small boat crisis. Go large. Set up stalls on the beaches of France, just undercutting the people smugglers. We're going to get them anyway. We might as well get the money as well. That's a good idea, Andy. Yeah, never mind about stop the boats. Let's start charging the people who are on those boats. Yeah, undercut the people smugglers. Good idea. Julius says, regarding those proposed 13 new outsourced diagnostic hubs, I heard the phrase, rules will be relaxed around the procurement of contracts. What does this mean? It means a few people are going to get spectacularly rich. Yeah, it would help, of course, if you were a close personal friend or publican to a serving minister in Her Majesty's government. His Majesty's government, if you please. Not her, his. It's Chaz's government now. And personally, I think he should be doing something about it. 0345 6060 973. Who's been waiting the longest? I'll be totally fair about this. It looks like Oxted. Pat.
Hi.
Pat.
Can you help answer this for me?
Yes.
Why is it that successful public companies can not only pay their CEOs millions of pounds, but there's still money left over to pay dividends to the shareholders?
Because they pay their workers, the people that actually create the wealth,
yes, but
nothing.
Then, on the other hand, I've got shares in the National Health Service through taxation.
That's right.
But not only do I not get a dividend, but I can't get my ruddy hip done either.
Yes, you get nothing, Pat. Good day.
I have to keep on using something, keep rubbing it or something.
Oh, please. That's a little bit too much information.
That rather attractive lady who is the CEO of the National Health Service, I do wonder perhaps if she's got too much responsibility elsewhere.
Yeah, she should.
And I mean,
she could.
If she's got a family, I don't know. She can probably afford to afford a Norland nanny to look after her kids.
Yeah, and with the spare time that she has, she could come over and rub some unguent into your joints.
You tell.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't get my ruddy hip
done. No, quite right. And I wish you all the best with that, Pat. You're going to need a lot of luck. All right.
I am on diet.
Yeah, OK. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Rita texts, I'm a doctor in the NHS in London. A doctor? Bill! Rita texts, I'm an enemy of the people in the NHS in London, and the situation is dire. Run by multiple levels of managers, old equipment, long waiting lists, poor staff morale. All my colleagues are leaving, going private or to other countries. Not sure how they will continue to run the NHS once everyone's gone. Maybe with robots.
Affirmative.
Yeah. That's probably exactly what it'll be. The NHS will henceforth be run by Terminators.
Affirmative.
Yeah, your Terminator will see you now. Well, who would be remotely surprised if that was actually the case? They go into the doctor's office, but they never come out again. Now, it's written A-I-A-N. AIAN texts. Don't forget that doctors striking is what is increasing the backlog and the waiting times. 2 exclamation marks and 2 question marks. I believe that AIAN is being sarcastic. Are this lot for real, he says. 3 question marks. Yeah, that's right. Fishy Sunak is blaming the evil doctors and nurses for the lengthening waiting lists and not the 13 years of mismanagement under the Safe in Our Hands Conservative Party. It's staggering, really, isn't it? I mean, they are gaslighting this country like they're cooking a pie. Figures released last month revealed that NHS waiting lists stood at 7.47 million at the end of May, the highest number since records began, as in ever. If only this country had not been run by Jeremy Corbyn and the misfiring Labour Party over the last 13 years, then we would not be in this problem. A number of other measures to use capacity in the private sector have been outlined by what's called the Elective Recovery Task Force, which was set up in December. These include, but are not limited to, using data from private health providers to identify where they could take on more NHS patients to help clear backlogs. They will also be looking at the private sector to train junior NHS staff. Holy smoke! I mean, this reads to me like the death knell of the NHS. The private sector isn't going to be helping the NHS anymore. It's going to be the other way around. We won't have a national health service. I mean, it's pretty much true now. We'll have a national emergency service. If you have just been in a car crash, then you want to get taken to your accident and emergency hospital department. But for anything else, unless you're having a heart attack at this moment, then the doctor will not be seeing you on the NHS. But because the private health companies will be coining in massively your money, your taxpayers' money, then the government will be able to say, and if they haven't done this already, I'll be absolutely stunned. They will, in fact, I know that they have. They will say that we are spending record amounts on the NHS. And you look around your crumbling NHS hospital, who's got hot sewage running down the walls and asbestos in the ceiling and nurses and machines that go ping are not to be seen. And you wonder, where is all this money going? And when they say they're spending money on the NHS, they include the amount of money that they're spending on private healthcare to help the NHS, or to help out the NHS, or to help out private healthcare providers is actually what's happening. Unless you know otherwise, in which case you must correct me. 0345 6060 973. Glasgow, Eric.
Hello, Nick.
Eric.
Fantastic to speak to you as always, sir. Great topics tonight, electricity and everything else. I've got a little...
What's your opinion on electricity, Eric? Are you for or against?
Well, it's just got to happen. It's got to happen, right. Nick. It's just got. It's inevitable.
Right.
That's
so two thumbs up. 2 thumbs up for electricity. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Right. My pal, a good friend of mine, is a sales and marketing director and is working for the prison system in Scotland.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the prisons are full at the minute, and we're lacking the labour market and the working capacity. Now, he's brought out a tag, and this is something to do with electricity as well, I suppose. Well, it is, but he's brought out a tag where people can be monitored whilst they're working, so they're not breaking curfews or anything and going to fixed addresses. The only problem is they've not got homes for them to go to yet. If that makes sense to you.
Not really, no. I thought we had tags that could do that already.
Well, not as advanced as these are.
Oh, advanced tags.
I was talking to Peter anyway, just for a little chuckle for you in a wee bite, right? I thought to myself, why don't we give one of these to Donald Trump so he can conduct his business from the White House and not be allowed out the White House?
Yeah, we could fit one round his neck and put a bell on it. That way we'll always hear him coming. All right, thanks a lot, Eric. 0345 6060 973. And on that subject, Mike says, if Trump becomes president in the jailhouse instead of the White House, what will our Prime Minister do when going on a special relationship visit? Oh, what a horrible thought, Mike. Wash your mind out with soap and water. If Trump becomes president in the jailhouse instead of the White House, what will our Prime Minister do when going on a special relationship meet during Trump's visiting hour? You believe that?
This guy is sick. There's something wrong with this guy.
Something wrong with you, Mike. Tom says, Teslas are the most boring-looking blob of a car on the road. I wouldn't be seen dead in one, says Tom. He feels very, very strongly about that. Death would be better than a Tesla, according to Tom. I just think they're not very good-looking cars. That's all. I mean, here's the richest bloke in the world. He could have designed a car to look like anything. He could have had the world's best designers. How come... No, don't get rid of those. I haven't read those yet. I mean, I may have skipped ahead, but I haven't read those. That you just... there you go. I mean, how come the people at Aston Martin, for instance, can design a car that looks like that? And Elon Musk can only design a car that looks like... I don't know. It looks like like something that came out of a tin of beans. They're just not nice to look at. Why? I mean, it's just metal that gets pressed into certain shapes. It could look like anything. It could look like an Aston Martin. But apparently only Aston Martins can make cars that look like that. I don't really know why. Apart from the Fords that also, if you squint and look at them from very, very far away, from certain angles, also look like Aston Martins from the front. But apart from that, no one else can do that. I don't understand. I mean, it is the most beautiful car. It doesn't really matter which one you look at, apart from the 4x4s, which are just as ugly as every other 4x4. But, you see them on the street and you think, wow, look at that! But you see a Tesla and you think, look at that. I don't get it myself. It could be any shape. Why do they have to look like that? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. Blimey, look at the time. It's 11:30. The news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we are doing a radio show, Jim texts a correction. The floaty cars you referenced were not in Space 1999. They were in UFO, both series made by the late, great Jerry Anderson, but not in Super Marionation. That was something else. John says, perhaps SpaceX is about Elon Musk leaving the planet and the rest of us. Well, there is a film called Don't Look Up, which, if you haven't seen it yet, time is ticking on and it may be too late. I wouldn't waste another second of your life if I were you. I'd start watching it straight away. If you're lucky, you might live to see the end of it. Don't Look Up. In fact, it is actually coming true because isn't NASA about to blast off to investigate something like a $10 quadrillion asteroid that has got more precious metals than we have currently found on Earth? Something like that. It's actually becoming true. The whole world's gone crazy. Jim texts, who does Fish's washing and how on earth are his clothes getting shorter by the week? Is it a ploy to make him look like he's... Is it a ploy to make him look like he's growing? Who's he going to pass on his hand-me-downs to? Tom Thumb? There's a man who should never sit down because with his trousers are too short when he's standing up. I think it's to make it look as though he's taller than he is by creating a gap between his the bottom of his trousers and his shoes. So it looks as though he's taller than he actually is. But because his trousers are already too short, when he sits down, they become like shorts. I mean, they're practically over his knees. Nobody wants to see your knees, Fishy Sunak. Put them away.
Disgusting.
0345 6060 973. Erith. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Nick.
Steve.
You've pretty much said what I was...
it's been nice talking to you. Thanks a lot, Steve. 034... No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
There was a lady from the NHS and a caller... I think it was the last caller or the one before said who it was. The lady from the NHS, quite important. But she was being interviewed, and every time the interview mentioned money, she really struggled to hold her laughing. You know, she...
Who did?
The lady from the NHS, and she was talking about using private... money's coming into the NHS and they're going to put it towards private to help out the situation that's going on at the moment.
Yeah, to help out the private health companies,
Basically. But she was really struggling not to laugh every time he mentioned about anything to do with money, like the money that went missing or you know, so I was just thinking, if you want to know where the money's gone, I think she may know the way.
Right, whoever she is and whoever he is, because I actually had no idea what.
The CEO.
I had no idea what you're talking about. The CEO. Oh no.
Oh no.
The CEO. No. Yeah. The CEO of something or other was highly amused at the idea of money.
She's something to do with where the money goes. It comes into the NHS.
Well, that sounds conclusive to me, Steve.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You confused me. Well, I think you were confused when you arrived here. Nothing to do with me, Steve. Don't bring me into it. But thanks a lot, mate. As soon as you find out anything further, then I want you to let me know straight away, all right? Simon texts, so the government is spending more on the NHS than ever before. One aspect is due to staff leaving, being replaced by agency staff at much higher rates of pay. And have a look at the agency companies' turnover increases and the... Oh, and have a look at the agency companies' turnover increases and the Tory MPs / lords involved in these agencies. Well, are you giving me homework, Simon? Homework? You want me to do homework at the weekend? But, sir... John says, thought you'd like to know that 15 bee farms lost all their bees because of the heat. This was hundreds of millions of bees that died. As we need bees to pollinate food, expect food inflation to go back up. Well, never mind about food inflation to go back up. If the bees die out, we won't be eating anything anymore. I think our diet will consist of Swedes, not people from Sweden. Swedes. People. You're eating people. Isha, Isabel.
Oh, good evening, Nick.
Isabel.
I'm afraid this might be a bit boring, but I've heard you talking about the NHS again, and I've been in and out of hospital over the last 2 years, and last December, a patient next to me, her call bell wasn't working, so the technicians came, and they couldn't fix it, because the call bell was so old, they didn't have replacements, so... That was the end of that.
Do you mean that was the end of her?
No, She was still there, but she couldn't call anybody.
Right.
I went in for surgery on the 6th of June.
Yeah.
And it all went well after I saw a lot of grouse in the ceiling in intensive care.
When you saw... hang on a minute. You saw a lot of grouse, as in birds?
Yes.
Grouse?
Yes.
Grouse?
Yes.
The birds?
Yes.
You saw birds on the ceiling of your operating theatre?
No, this was in intensive care whilst I was on ketamine and morphine.
Oh, right.
Want to score some pot?
Right, so you were drugged out of your brain and you saw some birds on the ceiling that weren't actually there. I mean, presumably they weren't there.
Apparently so. I don't remember seeing them, but everybody tells me I saw them.
Right. How was it for you?
Oh, absolutely stunning. I went back to the main ward, and one morning I woke up and I said, oh, this is lovely. I've woken up in Versailles. The Palace of... I didn't wake up in the Palace of Versailles at all. But my call bell wouldn't work. And I thought, oh, here we go. I guess it is my call bell this time.
Right.
So a couple of technicians came, fixed it, but it wasn't fixed. And I said to the staff, it's not fixed. Oh, yes, it is. I said, it's not. If you press it, it won't work.
Yeah.
It is working. No, it's not.
Oh, well, now, hang on a minute. Was the bell actually working? They were just ignoring it because these annoying patients keep ringing that bell all the time, so they just unplugged it.
Blooming nuisance. No, it definitely wasn't working. However, if you pulled the cord really hard, you could pull the whole panel out the wall with the oxygen pipes, tubes, and then they came.
Then they come running, immediate service,
It was splendid. I could only do it once.
Only once, that's right. So make sure that you really, really need that. Not that you're disappointed that you got strawberry jelly instead of blueberry jelly, because that would be a misuse of that service. But
Absolutely.
If you really need it, just yank that cord out of the wall. Good idea. Thanks a lot, Isabel. 0345 6060 973. Angela texts, have all Thames Water shareholders gone deaf, lost their voices, or what? Surely they should be rising up in anger about the way their company is polluting our seas and rivers. Get off your backsides and pressurise management, says Angela. I think that, Angela, all the Thames Water shareholders, they're waiting for that message to be translated into Chinese. I don't know whether all Thames Water shareholders are from China, but even if they're not, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. Jim says, my prediction, 1, Trump will be convicted. 2, DeSantis will declare that he will pardon Trump if elected president. 3, Trump will step aside and tell his supporters to vote for DeSantis. 4, DeSantis will become president. And 5, that's how Trump will avoid going to jail. I think you're completely incorrect in every respect there, Jim. There's absolutely no way Donald Trump will step aside for anyone. Are you kidding me? He's on a vengeance trip. Anyone who's ever said anything that is not in support and admiration of the drear leader...
A president! Can you believe it?
...is up for a little light vengeance. He ain't going to step aside for anybody. And if he does go to jail, he can still be the President of the United States of America in jail. And I don't know, it's there seems to be some sort of affliction that is gripping those of a far right-wing tendency, that the more evidence that you put in front of them, the less they believe. It's, I don't know, there's something in the mind of your average ding-a-ling that seems to be... the intent on disbelieving their own eyes. The more evidence that Donald Trump is a con man and a crook, the less they believe. The more evidence that climate change is real and happening right now, that all of the things that climate scientists, 99% of climate scientists, all climate scientists, bar a couple that aren't directly funded by the oil and the gas industry, everything that they've said is coming true, and the more evidence that you present people, the less they believe. The more determined they are to stew in their own ignorance. It's incredible. So yeah, and the more Trump is and his fans are presented with his own misdeeds, the less they will think that he deserves to be in jail. It's weird. It's just really bizarre. I think there's something fundamental has happened to the human race, and I think that 2 people are responsible.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
That one and this one.
I'm a person that wants to tell the truth. I'm an honest person.
He lied. 0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Clacton. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Ben.
Yes, Rishi Sunak is in favour of the motorists
Well, if you believe that, I've got a bridge I'd like to sell you, but go ahead.
That means he's also in favour of thousands of people dying from pollution and children's organs being not growing to the proper level, and they're being ill for the rest of their life.
I don't believe he's in favour of motorists. He's in favour of clinging on to power regardless of what the consequences, and he's in favour of the Conservative Party donor class, who also happen in great numbers to be either directly or indirectly associated with the oil and the gas industry.
Well, that came out just in your news tonight. The senior minister of the Conservative Party is saying it's a waste of taxpayers' money, funding the scrappage scheme and putting more funding into the scrappage scheme, and that would solve the problem, but they won't do it.
Well, they won't do it because London has a Labour mayor. I mean, people complaining to Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, that he is not funding the scrappage scheme to their precise requirements, rather overlook the fact that it would be central government that would have to actually come up with those funds. And they singularly will fail to do that because it benefits them politically. I mean, to hell with the country and people who have to breathe polluted air, and those people who will be inconvenienced, but maybe go out of business because they won't be able to afford to pay these the ULEZ charge and so on and so forth. Never mind about all that. Yes. They will gain political capital, will the Tories, and so they're going to do it.
They don't care about people's health or people dying.
If they do, they're keeping it pretty secret. Almost undetectable.
And also, in the Financial Times today, there was they're actually giving more money to the fossil fuel industry and less money to wind power and solar and all of that.
Yes,
they came out today.
Well,
it's crazy.
The amount of money that is worldwide given in support of the oil industry is, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something of the order of $80 billion a year in subsidies to the oil industry, the world's richest business. I mean, it's as though the whole human race has totally lost its mind.
And what's the point of COP meetings? They all fly there in planes and they end up promising things that they never keep.
Yeah, not much. They should recall it not much COP. All right, thanks a lot, Ben. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbot. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
Those are my rules. I don't make the rules, I only have to follow them. Plus, I make them. 0345 6060 973. Jed says, the Tories think the great unwashed British public are as thick as mince, and the tragedy is they're correct. You keep telling them black is white and they keep swallowing it, says Jed. Pete says Elon Musk's priority is the technology. Aston Martins look good because they were designed about 60 years ago. Older cars had individuality and they looked better because, unlike today's cars, they were not all designed in a wind tunnel. Well, that's not really true, is it? I mean, today's Aston Martins don't really look like the old Aston Martins at all. I mean, they share some design elements, right enough, that have been sort of sanded down. But if they can look that good, then how come other cars can't look that good? That's what I don't really understand about cars. I mean, those Teslas, they all look so bulbous and lumpen. There's nothing exciting about them. They just look so dreary and dull. The ones that don't look like... how to put it? The ones that don't look like a... I don't really know. I mean, that's quite a bad sign that I can't really even think of a description for them. But there's the big sort of fat ones, and then there's the ones that look like cabs. The ones that look like Honda Civics or whatever those cabs are that you see everywhere. That I don't believe a single person in history has ever bought one of those as an individual customer. They've been bought in job lots as fleets for cab drivers. Why would the richest man in the world hire somebody to make his car look like a cab? I mean, everywhere they go in those, the smaller of the Teslas, they must have people waving at them from the side of the road, thinking that finally our cab's arrived. Must be quite annoying. I don't know why people can't get. I mean, why is it so difficult? Like I said, it's not. It shouldn't be that hard to just bend metal, because that's what it is. It's just bent metal. Why can't they bend it into something that looks nicer? Clacton. No, I think I've spoken to Ben. Thank you, Ben. You have delighted us enough. Manchester. Hello, Julia.
Hello.
Julia.
Hi, Nick.
Julia.
Right, I've got 3 things to say to you. One about cars, but you're not as old as me. Do you remember the Jensen, was it Interceptor?
The Jensen Interceptor. I was so excited as a child to see one of those go by on the motorway.
But not as a child, I was a teenager.
Right.
They looked so good.
They looked like the back window was quite large, but in the whole, it was a fabulous looking piece of kit.
Yeah, it sure was. The other thing, before the Conservatives came in, dentistry was on the NHS.
Yeah.
You did not have a problem getting a dentist, did you?
No.
And then all of a sudden, you can't get a NHS dentist, but everywhere you see is Smiles or tooth whitening or this, that and the other.
Yeah.
And you cannot go... you can't get an NHS dentist.
It's
People take their own teeth out.
Yeah, they're taking their own teeth out in this country. And this country has always been known for the excellence in their dental work.
The other thing I wanted to tell you, in March, I had something wrong with me, so I went to, I won't say the name of the hospital, the A&E.
Yeah.
And you know, at the back of the A&E, if they think it's something serious, they put you in, I think it's an assessment unit.
Yes.
And then they said I had to have a scan.
Right.
They wheeled me through, and the next thing, I was in a corridor where the ceilings was down, all the plaster was off the walls, and it felt like you was outside.
Right.
To go to the scan unit. It was absolutely terrible. But there was a good thing came out of it. On the scan, I had a big mass on my ovary. I was 70 at the time. They had to transfer me to another hospital in the centre of Manchester, where I had to have a full bloody hysterectomy, and this tumour weighed...
Oh, no, we don't want to know...
Kilos.
Oh, blimey.
It was 16 times 10 times 14.
I've got no idea what that means.
I haven't had a mal.
Please don't tell me. Right, OK, well, how's everything with you now, Julia?
Oh, and they found out, they were telling me I'd have to go to Christie's Hospital, the cancer hospital in Manchester.
But how are you doing now, Julia?
No, it was benign. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe this call so far. A little bit too much information, but I'm delighted to know that you are doing well. Thanks, Julia. Thanks for the detail. 0345 6060 973. I feel like I've just been assaulted. I did not see that coming. Where am I? Johnny texts, late tuning in, so you may have covered it, but did you see 30p Lee lamenting the indoctrination of his son by wokey-cokey extremist academic tofu eaters at university? Yeah. Yeah, I did. I don't know why people are hopping up and down about that, saying, oh, look at this outrageous person here. It was a joke. How people can't see that is just beyond me. People that I respect on Twitter were retweeting that as though this was a sort of a gotcha. Look, this is the sort of people they are. It was a joke. I mean, the punchline was telegraphed so far ahead you could have seen it from the International Space Station. I knew where that was going almost the moment he started talking. The disappointing part is that we are actually being run by wannabe stand-up comedians in this country. Not that we're being run by people who think that vegetarians are somehow a bad thing or is a shameful thing to be. He was joking. I mean, I'm not standing up for him. I think 30p Lee is 100% despicable, but it was just a gag. And I really don't understand why people don't understand. I suppose they just thought they naturally thought the worst of him, expecting not to be disappointed. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
I am not one of your fans!
Who do you think you're talking to?
Well, let's see now. I think I'll be talking to, eeny, meeny, miny, Wanstead. Sophie.
Nick, how are you?
I'm super, thanks for asking.
No one's mentioned this.
Sophie, we've got one of those lines where it cuts off the front of every word you say. We're going to call you back, all right? No, don't apologise. We're going to call you back, all right? Hello? Hello?
I heard you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, boys.
Hello? Anybody there?
Can you hear me?
No? I'll call you back. Later. Call her back. 0345 6060 973. Valerie texts, 1, Elon Musk did not design the Tesla car, he just bought the company. 2, I see actual grouse in the field at the back of my house, she says. Valerie, Elon Musk didn't design the Tesla car and he didn't buy the company, he made the company. I know he didn't design the Tesla car, but as the world's richest human, you'd think he would be able to hire somebody who could design a better looking car than that. I mean, at some point you would have thought that just someone would have raised a finger of complaint and thought, these aren't very good-looking cars. Why are we making so many of them? Why am I making a car that looks like the Honda that everyone uses as a cab and then charge something like 4 times the price for it? I just don't understand why the world's richest human builds a car that looks like, meh, that. And as for the grouse in the field at the back of your house, Valerie, well, if you say so. Bill says, Nick, if Trump ever becomes president again and he is in prison, then as president, Trump could pardon himself so he won't be in prison anymore. I think that's actually true. I asked on my Abnormal Normal show on Sunday, I speak to a chap in America. The US catch-up we do at 12:30, and I asked him if that was possible, if he could pardon himself, or if he was in jail, if he could actually be the president. You know, he went to jail, and then he ran to be the president. Could he be the president if he was in jail at the time of the election? And the answer is yes, because nobody has ever written down the rule that you can't do that, because nobody previously had considered it a possibility. This is how these people win. This is how he won.
Yeah. Wait
and continues to get away with it. And this is how Donald Trump wins.
Everything that I've done is 100% proper. That's what I do, is I do things proper.
It's because nobody previous to those people being in power could have conceived of anybody like that being in power. It didn't occur to anybody to write down this stuff, that you can't do this, that and the other, as a person in power. And that's why Mr. Blobby got away with it.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
And that's how Fat Donny gets away with it. Nobody had ever considered the possibility that people that bad could get into a position of power. So, yeah, he could pardon himself because nobody had ever considered the possibility of somebody running for president in prison and winning. God, I think that the human race has, I think it's lost its mind. The entire human race has completely lost its mind.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
Yes, the old bag is right. Ah, she's back. Wanstead. Hello, Sophie.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Oh, I think it's doing the same thing.
Oh, hello?
Yes, stop tapping the phone.
So, quickly about Trump before I get on to my main point. That you're exactly right that the people who support him, no matter how much evidence you present to them, they just cling on to him more. It's like a cultish movement.
It's not that. It's the more evidence you present that climate change is real, that Trump's a con man, that I've run out. All of these things are true. The more evidence you present, the more determined they are not to believe.
Can you become president from prison? And this is what would happen in crazy America. I'm sorry, I know lots of American, not all American people are like this, but this is just, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense. If you're not born in America, you can't go for the presidency. But if you've been convicted and you're in prison, you can become president. How does that make sense?
Because he's American, Sophie. He's from America.
Understand. And the other thing is...
and another thing.
The MP who told 50-somethings to get onto a motorbike or cycle...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think, well, that's not going to help the climate situation because a lot of these delivery drivers, you know, the lovely, nice people in the co-op, and there are other supermarkets available.
I don't think so. I think it's just the co-op, isn't it?
I've seen them. Some of them use cars and bikes, motorcycles.
Right.
And for that, you need oil.
Yeah.
If you've got all
and they
these
make a lot of noise. I don't know how... why does a moped make so much noise? I mean, it's got the same size of engine as you get in a coffee grinder. Why does it make that much noise?
Many people are ordering takeaways. There's a particular neighbour who shall remain nameless.
Is it Jeff?
Orders takeaways all the time, and a man delivers the takeaway in a brown bag in a car on his own.
Right.
How much is
how's that saving the planet? Exactly. Okay, you need to get a new phone, Sophie, or get to higher ground, or lean out the window, unless you're in a train. Thanks a lot, Sophie. 0345 6060 973. Health and safety first. Jed says, why does no one challenge Sunak on the fact that we have been extracting oil and gas out of the North Sea for 50 years for zero energy security? So how can more extraction under the same terms deliver energy security? Well, that is a very good question. Yes. How come nobody's thought to say that? Why does no one challenge Sunak on the fact that we have been extracting oil and gas out of the North Sea for 50 years for zero energy security? So how can doing more actually deliver energy security? Well, he's lying about that. I mean, they're all lying about that. Like I said at the top of the show, they're lying and lying and lying. They learn their lines before they come out on whatever show they're on, and they just repeat them. And when they're presented with the truth that what they're saying is untrue, it is as though they can't take on board that information because they haven't learned a response to that. And so they just repeat the same thing that got them corrected in the first place. It drives me up the wall. They're all like that. Bunch of nodding dogs. As though they're pre-programmed, like robots.
Affirmative.
There's more oil and gas exploration will not deliver us energy security, you're quite right, Jed, any more than it has done already. For the simple reason that the stuff that comes out of the North Sea doesn't come here. It goes onto the open market. The people that are taking it out of the North Sea aren't British. We're not smart like Norway. We're stupid like Britain, like a country that has given away its water, for crying out loud. Why wouldn't we give away our energy? And so we are depending on the kindness of strange corporations, which have no kindness. They have no morals, no empathy. They absolutely will not stop ever.
Correct.
Can't remember what the exact quote was, but it was something like that. Terminator. We export to the international market. Not we. The companies that suck that energy out of the North Sea. They squirt it all over the international markets, and then we buy it from that market at the prevailing price. It doesn't come here cheap. It doesn't. We don't get special dibs. None of that. And everything that they're saying about it is wrong. And when they're presented with the simple fact that alone, that simple fact alone, should get them to shut up and take back everything that they said. But it doesn't. It just makes them repeat the same lie again. It's painful. It really is. The thing is, they know that they're lying. That's what's annoying. They're not stupid. It's worse than that. 0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Wetherby. Jamie.
Hello?
Jamie.
I was speaking to Nick.
Well, what would you like to say to Nick?
Sorry, I was speaking to the producer. I don't know whether I'm on air now or... Because I was just turning my radio off, so I'm confused.
Okay, all right. No, you are speaking to Nick. You're on the air with me right now, Jamie. Go ahead.
All right, sorry about that. I'm not being weird. Sorry. I was ringing about one of my previous callers, Steve.
Yeah.
Was talking about the fact that we pay money to the taxpayers pay money to private patients rather than just NHS.
We pay money to private healthcare companies for NHS patients to get treated privately because there's no no capacity for them to get treated on the NHS. Yes.
Oh right. You see, I apologise. I thought we were paying for both.
We are. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're paying twice and getting nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm totally blind, Nick, and I am obviously I'm an NHS patient, and I just think, why do people pay? Why is the taxpayer, yourself? I mean, obviously not myself, but
yeah, everyone,
my family,
all taxpayers,
yeah. Why are you paying for, people are paying privately?
Well, a cynic might think that the government has engineered a massive waiting list to the point that people can't rely on the NHS anymore for anything other than an emergency. So they scrabble together whatever coppers they can find at the back of the sofa, or they sell their car, or they don't go on holiday, or they raid their bank accounts for all their rainy day funds and get themselves treated on privately, because you've only got one life, and so you might as well enjoy it as much as you can, and if that includes getting rid of whatever ails you, then you're going to do anything you can.
People who can't afford to go private,
and
then, I mean, correct me if I'm getting this wrong, please, but the way I read what your previous caller Steve said was that the private patients are then sucking off the NHS. No, sorry, you're also paying for private patients to get care.
It's like we have the worst of all worlds. We have an NHS which is funded by all of us, but is so badly run and run down that it can't treat all of us. So then we have to pay some of the world's most expensive private healthcare costs to get treated, to get the kind of treatment that we should expect to get on the NHS, but can't anymore after 13 years of safe in their hands.
Oh, so you're saying that the what basically meant then was the NHS patients are having to go private?
Yeah. If they can.
Right, I beg your pardon, I'm getting that wrong.
Right. OK, glad to clear that up for you, Jamie. Thanks, mate. 0345 6060 973. Lee says, for every £4 lost in free trade from Brexit, we gain 8 pence in the new Pacific free trade deal. Specifically, the Pacific free trade deal. The TPP. He says this. It just makes me laugh every time somebody says that. The TPP. For every £4 lost in free trade from Brexit, we gain 8 pence in the new Pacific deal. The strong and stable, safe pair of hands of the party for business, the Tories. I'd call the lies traitorous, says Lee. Well, I'd agree with you. There's a lot of traitorous action going here, there and everywhere, baby. Seems to be a lot of it about. For every £4 lost in free trade from Brexit, we gain 8p in the new TPP deal. Someone should put some TCP on it. Martin says, Mr. Speaker, I didn't know where that was going, so I don't know, I just read it like that, not knowing what the rest of it was going to be like, but I think I've done that correctly, just scanning ahead. Martin texts, Mr. Speaker, Nick Abbott keeps making fun of my voice and height. Oh, he is awful, and I don't like him. Stop him, Mr. Speaker, says Martin. I don't know who he's referring to. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. David texts, Rishi used to believe in ools. Ools? Oh, ULES. ULES, he says. Rishi used to believe in the ULES until he found out that pollution stunted children's growth. He's figured out that one thing London can do without is any more tall people. Very, very rude. Jack says, what do you expect, though, Nick? Half the dingalings are part of the Flat Earth Society. Have you ever heard anyone trying to convince them that they're wrong? Yeah, Jack, me. With zero success. He says these people are now denying gravity exists. Well, have you ever seen it? No. Proof positive. He says, I think we have finally found the missing link in human evolution. And Sam says, maybe Elon Musk got the guys who designed the Austrian Allegro and the Princess on his design team. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. It's like the modern version of like a 1970s beige Austin Allegro. Yeah, it's exactly what they look like. How can the world's richest human have designed such a boring-looking car? And it's not just the one either. It's like all of the cars in that range are just really, really dull to look at. And I haven't actually sat in one, but I peered through the window, and they look as dull on the inside as they do on the outside. If I was the world's richest human, I'd have, I would have brought back fins. I'd have go faster stripes, and because apparently with the crazy add-on or the insanity package or whatever it is he calls that thing, with that you can get from 0 to 60 in about as long as it takes you to say you can get to 0 to 60. I mean, it's one of the fastest cars on Earth. It just doesn't look like it. It looks like the kind of car that would spend from now until eternity trying to get to 60 mile an hour and failing. So why do they look like that? Mystifying. Maybe it's one of those things that that will look better in the future. BMW do that a lot. When you first see the new BMWs on the road, you think, God, what a hideous-looking car. And then after about 5 or 6 years, when other cars start looking like that too, you think, actually that looks quite nice. Let's have Sandbach. Hello, John.
Yeah?
John.
Yeah, is that Nick?
Is that John?
I've been getting wrapped up with so much and listened to what's been going on.
Right.
I didn't realise it was you.
It's me! Go ahead.
In America, we've got the evangelical fascism.
Yes.
In Europe, we have fascism, growing fascism.
And
in this country,
that's true.
And in this country, we have two parties who are dying to say we want to get rid of the NHS, but they haven't got the gonads to say it.
It's just bizarre that the Labour Party seem to be... they're like the ditto party. Whatever the Tories just said, ditto.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always been a Labour voter, but really, I'm really turning off with this crowd. They've got it might not be the actual politicians themselves, but I think about the advisors they've got, and you think that's where it comes in, the advisors.
Maybe.
And they're copying the Tories, and then you've got problems, big style. I don't know where they're going.
Well, I mean, the best that we can hope for is that whoever gets through the next election as the winner, and on current form it looks like being the Labour Party, that they will actually have the kind of policies that people will like and appreciate, and they will become more apparent after they win, rather than what we've got at the moment, which, like I said, does seem to be, whatever Rishi Sunak last said, that's what we think too.
I'm a bit worried about that. I really don't think we're going that way.
Well,
I think we're going to...
Well, the choice that you will have, John, at that moment is, what's the least bad option?
Let's go for the Greens.
Well, is that, though? Is that the least bad option? Because that would be...
I don't know.
If you don't want a Conservative, another Conservative government, I'll assume that that's the case, then voting Green... which is something that I have done many times in the past. Voting Green may be that thing where the left split their vote among a multiple number of parties, while if you're right of centre, you've only got one party essentially to vote for, and so the Tories will win again with less than 50% of the vote, and they'll get 100% of the power.
And we want PRP.
Yes, we do.
Proportional representation.
But that's another thing that we just cross our fingers and hope that in the future that will look like a good idea to whoever is running this show, assuming that, there is still a small part of this country that is not a burning, smoking ember by that time.
Exactly. I mean, more and more I'm losing faith in the Labour Party, because I listen to them, and I listen to the Conservatives who never stop talking, and then the Labour Party comes on like they've just been smacked in the gob with a wet fish, and they've got no guts. They got no guts whatsoever.
I think yes. It's easy for us to say that, but I guess put yourself into Keir Starmer's position. And he will not want to be the man who saw a 20-point lead evaporate and lose, just for want of saying something that irritates the dinglings that he's trying to bring on side. He doesn't want to say that Brexit's a failure. For instance, everybody with eyes and ears can tell that Brexit is a failure. But he won't say it for fear that it'll upset one or two people that are clinging to the idea that Jacob Rees-Mogg was right.
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything, but he's not prepared to say it.
Geez, that's a sad indictment of the people in this country.
Yeah.
God almighty.
Right. Maybe it's not Keir Starmer's fault. Maybe it's our fault.
It's definitely our fault because if we had two brains, one would be lonely, looking at the electorate, and it's the same old. Oh, I don't agree with that. Well, get some gonads and disagree with it, and show your disagreement.
Right. Well, I agree with that. Go, Nads. Just go. You said you were going to resign immediately. Just go, Nads. All right. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. What the hell is she doing for our money? Anybody have any idea? Rose texts, I think many of Trump's supporters like him more because of his so-called misdeeds, and the rest in spite of them. He's a hero to some because he has the gall to do the things they'd like to do. And for some, he has their values, like guns and individualism, so they'll overlook anything for his sake. Yeah, Donald Trump is not about guns. Donald Trump is a New York city slicker. They don't do guns in New York. Donald Trump is everything that his ding-a-ling fans should hate. He's all of the things that they would ordinarily hate. City slicker from New York, a con man, essentially. He's not a good old boy like those ding-a-lings in the MAGA hats. He's the opposite of them. And he thinks they're stupid.
I love the poorly educated.
I love the poorly educated, he said to a crowd of poorly educated people, and they whooped and cheered like he was complimenting them. I love the poorly educated, he said. What more do you need to know? Those are his fans, those people. It's amazing, really. I mean, what's happening in the world right now is just absolutely staggering. You imagine if he became the next president of the United States of America. I mean, the options that they have in America and by consequence the rest of the world are dismal at best. I mean, what's going to be happening next year is next year. Never mind about this year or the year before. Not even 2020, which was the year of COVID. Next year is the one. If this planet can get through one more year, then we'll be doing very, very well indeed. Well, the planet will be all right. It's just whether we will make it along for the ride. I suppose we'll find out when we get there, eh? 0345 6060 973.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
No, not on this or any other subject. Shahaf says, the original Tesla was a futuristic-looking two-seater roadster. The problem was that only retired investment bankers with a midlife crisis wanted one. So they came up with the design that attracted the boring upper-middle class with a midlife crisis. I don't think anybody with a midlife crisis buys the new model Tesla. I think it's people who have... Would it be a bad thing to say who have given up on life? They certainly have not got a midlife crisis. They're comfortably with child, I would imagine, or multiple children, and they don't want anything that's that is in any way exciting. I don't know why anybody would buy one. Like it's just mystifying to me, because to me a car is an emotional purchase. I mean, you don't do. Well, people do, but I, personally, wouldn't buy a car for sensible reasons. If I bought a sensible car, then I would be bored every time I got into it. I'd be bored looking at it. I'd be bored talking about it. It would just be a dull part of my life, rather than something that's interesting. I mean, it doesn't have to be exciting. You don't have to go out and buy a sports car, even if you could afford one. But something with a little bit of, something to it. And it doesn't really have to be like a sporty performer. It just has to look good, that's all. I mean, there's loads of cars that look good. Those cars that look like they come from space, they look good. I don't know where they actually... Are they South Korean or something? I see them everywhere. And I've looked to see what the brand is, but you can't tell. Because it just seems to be a black badge on the front. It's black on black. And they're like every other kind of looking car. You know, they're those sort of soft roaders. They look like 4x4s. They look like something that was made to climb a mountain, but they aren't. They're made to climb a speed bump to get you into Tesco's. Not the shop, the car park that stands outside. So, yeah, I just don't get it. I just don't understand why the world's richest human can't employ somebody with the design sense to be able to bend metal into something that looks a little bit more exciting than that. It's as though he's trying to make it look boring. Don't get it myself. Greg says, my wife asked if I wanted to play doctors and nurses. I was expecting something sexier than being left on a trolley in the hallway for 2 days. These are the jokes, folks. No, my glamorous assistant has just come up with exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, what is that?
It's called a Cupra.
What's that?
It's an electric car.
Cupra?
I know.
It does look like the future, doesn't it?
It really does. And you're right, it kind of reminds me of the new kind of BMWs that I've seen out and about as well.
It looks like... because they've got all this LED technology now, so they light them up like a funfair ride. A Cupra. Is it South Korean? I have no idea. But anyway, look at it. Look at it. I know you can't do that because this isn't television. But trust me, look it up on the World Wide Web. That is an interesting and at some angles exciting looking car. Now, whoever Cupra is behind it, they can't possibly have as much money as Elon Musk. And yet, they've managed to fashion something that looks like that. Why is Elon Musk's car... I mean, the thing with the Tesla is, it looks the same from the back as it does from the front. It's like a worm. You don't know which end to feed. They're Spanish. Spanish! Good grief. Well, Spain hasn't got any money. And they've managed to fashion a thing that looks like that. I am stunned. Joe says, the seeds of today's problems in the NHS were planted by Tony Blair. When the last Labour government introduced PFI schemes. The NHS is still paying the high cost of the initial schemes, says Joe. Joe texts. Not Joe texts. Joe texts. Yeah, that's right. The problem with the NHS is 13 years of Tory rule. I would suggest. Joe. Mike says, if Trump can pardon himself, then what is the difference between the president of the democracy that is the USA and a banana republic despot? Yeah, exactly. Over to you, Donny.
Oh, shut up!
0345 6060 973. Lancaster, Jonathan.
Yeah, hi there.
Hello there.
I got a little mini convertible.
I am so sorry to hear that.
About 6 months ago. No. Hey, absolutely brilliant. You press a button, the roof goes down, it turns into a beach buggy.
Car. Right.
Yeah. But no, the reason I called up, is because a friend of mine was telling me something the other day. He said he was watching on TV an AA spokesman was being interviewed.
Alcoholics Anonymous, yeah.
Yeah, and he said there's something that the people don't know about these electric cars.
Yeah.
He said they only last for 10 years.
And don't drink the battery acid.
Yeah, apparently, right. They only last for 10 years, and then they got to scrap them. You can't change the battery because the battery is the car.
I'm not sure that's actually true.
Well, they're about 60, 70 grand, but that's what I've heard. That's what this guy is saying. He said the government won't be telling people that.
Right.
They only last about 10 years.
Well, my advice is not to get your advice on cars from Alcoholics Anonymous. But, whatever you decide, Jonathan. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. I asked somebody had to come around and start my car. I said, these new electric cars, do they ever break down? He said, I'm called to them all the time. I would have expected that they didn't break down at all because they ain't got no moving parts apart from the actual wheels. Apart from the human inside, there's nothing that moves on them. The thing with an internal combustion engine is that all sorts of things move. Nobody really knows what they do, but they move around a lot. That is for sure. So I was quite surprised when he said that he's always been called out to them. Another excellent reason not to buy one. Unless they're advertising with us, in which case you should buy at least 2. You deserve it. Treat yourself. Babs texts, could Boris Johnson technically run for US president? No one would have taken account of that in the US. He would be our biggest and best export.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Well, we certainly would like to say goodbye. We'll be waving him a cheery bye-bye, just as soon as possible. Make it happen. Let's have Bromley. Joe.
Hello, mate.
Joe.
Hello, mate.
Joe.
Hello, mate. Now, you got me on a swerve there because you did mention Donald Trump. Now, how could anybody on the planet trust a man who lies about his hair, his skin colour?
Yeah.
He just lies about absolutely everything.
You should not believe Donald Trump about anything.
Believe me. Okay?
Don't believe him.
But the very fact is, so many do, that there is now this cult of Donald Trump. I mean, God give me strength.
Yeah.
What kind of world are we living in?
We are living in a world of bing-bongs.
Bing-bong.
They're everywhere.
We have the choice between Donald Trump, who could potentially be in jail, and still be president of the United States. I mean, please, just please. Can people not even comprehend what is wrong with everything?
Yeah.
Right? Now we've also got this situation over here. The reason I did ring up was I spoke to a researcher about ULEZ. You in it.
Well, now steady on, Joe.
From now on, well, excuse my language, but from now on, we're going to charge you £12.50 a day for the privilege of getting in your car and going to the supermarket.
Only some people, Joe.
Well, of course. But
a very few number of people, percentage-wise. Something like, I don't know, there's various suggestions. It's 5% or 10%, maybe even 20%. But it's a small number of people who are creating all of the pollution.
Have you actually been on that website, the TfL website?
Yes, I have.
As to how you can get dispensation.
Yes.
It is a liturgy. It is the most monstrous. It is a rip-off. It is designed purely and simply to make money.
Well, Yes, but Joe, where do you think the money goes?
Well, of course, it will be squandered like all the money that ever goes into the government coffers.
Well, it's not going to the government, fortunately. It's going to the mayor, who will spend it on public transport. It is ring-fenced for that purpose.
Can I ask you the question? Do you really think the government's going to take a slice of that? Do you really think that?
Do I really think the government is going to take a slice of it? Well, if they could, they would. They'd burst into Sadiq Khan's office and fill their pockets with that cash, if they could. But as far as I'm aware, the money that is made from the ULEZ charge goes directly to funding public transport for London, which, let's face it, London has some of the best public transport of any city in the world. I know that people in London might balk at the very idea, but try going around another city in the way that we have in London. I mean, the buses and the trams and the overground and the tube. I mean, just the tube itself is an engineering marvel. And the extent of it is virtually unmatched on the planet. Okay, it's very expensive, but that would be a way to make it less expensive, surely, to spend the money on the public transport. It should be less expensive. It's less expensive in other cities, in other countries, better run countries. But, the Mayor of London has only the funds to do so much.
But do you know? Have you been on the Moscow Underground?
No, I have not.
Well, I have, and I have to say it is stupendous.
Yes, I've seen pictures of it.
It is stupendous.
It doesn't it doesn't have the extent of the London Underground, and it was built under particular circumstances that we don't want to that we don't want to recreate in this country. Surely.
May we go back to the ULEZ though, because this is a fundamental thing. This is strikingly fantastic for this country. The implications, I do believe it to be the case. You know as well as I do that the ULEZ charge is a precursor to pound per mile.
No, I don't know anything. I don't know anything of the sort. But I'd be surprised if we didn't eventually have that, because with people adopting battery cars, then the tax that we pay in petrol and diesel will diminish, and the government will have to replace it with something.
Dear boy, this is the stupidity and the harm of it all is that it's going to cost every single person. This country will be overrun by this kind of nonsense. It's already been going that way for a long time.
Joe, it's tax. It's called tax. You can call it nonsense with some justification in this country, because it's what the government does with that tax that's the thing. You know, people are dissatisfied in this country, but in places like Norway and Sweden, they are much less so. In fact, they're happier. They're actually pleased with the way that their government is using their tax money. It's because it is for the benefit of the people. We, in this country, are dissatisfied because it appears as though the government takes our tax money and gives it to their friends. And that only became sort of indisputably apparent during the COVID crisis, when the covers were thrown off because of this sort of mad scramble to get as much of our money as they possibly could, whereas normally it would be much more subtly done. We only became aware of it because of the COVID crisis. But, the crooked way in which this country is run predated that. It's just that we weren't as aware of it, that's all. But it's just tax, Joe. You can't avoid it. So pay it with a cheery smile. That's my recommendation to you. HAPPY-ness. Give it a go. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
0345 6060 973. You know, I didn't think that I was going to be talking about any of the things that we actually talked about on this show so far. This show is nothing to do with me. It was like this when I got here. I thought I was going to be all over the thing with the Work and Pension Secretary, Mel Stride, who said that over 50s should get on their mopeds. I know we mentioned it in passing, but I thought I was going to be, going in a deep dive. Didn't even barely mention it word one. Maybe tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow, as I also try to clear up some of the texts and emails that I get today. Although I have done unusually well, I've only got 3 pages to go. Normally there's like 10 or 12 pages of texts and emails that I haven't got around to. But today, surprisingly, I've been actually very good at my job. Can you believe that?
No.
0345 6060 973. Southgate, Hassan.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
So, just called up because I've heard mentions about the Teslas and their design and how crap Elon Musk has been at his job.
Well, that's not what I said. I just said they were a little, dull, boring.
Yeah, same. Purposefully done. So Elon Musk has obviously got into the automobile manufacturing business to make money, right?
Yeah.
And to make money, he would need to sell the vehicles en masse.
Yes.
So if he's introducing a new technology such as electric versus internal combustion.
Yeah.
That's already, at the time he came into the market, that's already kind of niche, right?
Well, at the time he came into the market, perhaps yes.
Okay. And the vehicles that we're seeing on the road today even are still lightly facelifted versions of the same design that he came into the market with. He hasn't really worked on the design. They've honed in on the technology a lot, but the design is more or less the same. There's very, very faint changes to headlights and things like that in terms of design, but more or less same vehicle as it was 10, 15 years ago.
Right. Looks like a cab.
And that is kind of done purposefully because, as I said, when he first came into the market, the technology itself was already kind of niche and limiting who he was appealing to. If he then added sort of out-of-the-world design to it as well, he would be really slimming down the number of people that vehicle would appeal to.
Yeah, I don't buy that because, you can get a BMW or a Mercedes that also cost £70,000, but they look like they've got something about them. They look interesting, exciting. Where's the excitement in a Tesla?
But BMW and Mercedes can afford to do that because they've got
Are you kidding?
Years of
he is the world's richest human. How could he not afford to pay someone to bend metal into an exciting shape?
He can afford it. It just wouldn't sell because he doesn't have that same brand loyalty, brand recognition that BMW and Tesla have.
You might be able to say that initially, but now I think he's one of the top-selling cars on the road is a Tesla. Surprisingly,
and I think in the next 5 to 10 years we're going to see Teslas change quite drastically.
But you don't know that, though, do you? Just making that up.
I don't. But I think their positioning and the footing they've got in the market will afford them some better designs. If you look at the Cybertruck, I think that's pretty out there. Although I have, apparently yet to hear that one has even landed on the road. But that's a different story. But yeah, I think they will be coming quite soon.
Right. See, if I was making a premium car and I was charging, some of these cars cost over $100,000. If I was charging that, I would make absolutely sure that you could see that it was a premium car. I guess one of the points that I'm making is that it just doesn't look that expensive.
No, they do look very, very tame, but. While we're talking about the looks of cars, you mentioned about the Cupra, as it turns out.
Yeah. I had no idea that's what they were called. I've looked at those things to try to see what the badge is, to see what they're called, but you can't tell. It's just dark. Their badge.
Their branding isn't very significant in that way. I do agree, but Cupra is basically the motorsport and high performance division of SEAT, who was is a Spanish company.
Right.
But SEAT has been wholly owned by the Volkswagen Audi group since the late 80s.
Who isn't wholly owned? I probably am wholly owned by the Volkswagen group. I'll have to check on that.
The point is, obviously, again, with the backing of Volkswagen and Audi groups, funding and their design and research and development teams and things like that, obviously SEAT or Cupra, as it were.
But to be clear, I'm not talking about... to be clear, I'm not talking about the technology under the hood. I mean, that is a completely different issue. What I'm talking about is the really simple part, what I would think is simple, of just bashing metal into certain shapes. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about how fast it goes or how wonderful it is under the bonnet or any of that stuff. Just the shape of it. And that to me, is what makes people buy a car. What car are you driving, Hassan?
I drive a Toyota IQ.
A what?
A Toyota IQ. It's basically Toyota's version of a smart car.
Right. And what drew you to it? The shape?
To a degree, actually, yeah.
Yeah. See, I think it's an emotional...
It's not a very pretty shape, but I bought it for work, and
Right.
it was it was a vehicle that could be branded quite easily.
Right. So I think it's an emotional purchase. And I don't know about women, but men, certainly, they want something that looks a bit different or exciting or fast forward or thrilling or something like that.
Definitely. I mean, family cars, we tend to usually keep, when affordability was better, we tended to have Audis. So, yeah, design is quite up there for me. The Toyota that I'm driving now is a different story, but it is. But, again, another little fun fact about Tesla, their early vehicles and their early production line, something as simple as the wheel well was made out of I'm not going to quote a number, but it was made out of a stupid number of pieces welded together. And that's because the company had to sort of learn how to produce cars.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand all that.
More to the point, mass produce them.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and they've done very well, no doubt about it. But I think they've been in business long enough to actually produce a car that looks nice. Is that asking too much? Because I have to look at so many of them.
While they're still struggling to get orders from 5 years ago out and delivered to the customer, I'd be more worried about that than the design of the cars. I think some of the people that are putting orders in today will probably get their car, and then there'll be something much better and newer available by the time they do.
Right. Well, I don't know about the lead time to buy one of those things, but I'll have to take your word for it, unless proven otherwise. What I don't want to do, Hassan, is pick a fight with a billionaire. Do you mind if I don't do that? Thanks a lot, mate. Gotta go, 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 mate. Gotta go.